The opinions expressed on the following audio program are solely those of the host and the guests. Burner Podcast is an independently produced, not-for-profit show and is not associated with the Burning Man organization or its subsidiaries. The views expressed are not representative of the entire Burning Man community and are presented here for entertainment purposes only. In short, calm the fuck down. It's just a podcast.
Episode number 14. I'm just going to do a quick plug. There's all these places that you can listen to the show on. I just every once in a while I have to say them on the air in order to make them happy because I'm constantly getting emails from the different platforms that you consume this show from telling me that I need to tell you guys about it more. So there's Libsyn. Libsyn, of course, is the where the show goes up first. It's the first place you hear it. That's the player that's right there on burnerpodcast.com. There's Stitcher, which is the app I personally use most often. That's Stitcher Radio. You can look that up on your app store or whatever. There's tunein.com. It's got a really clean and beautiful interface. And there's SoundCloud, of course. And the reason that we do have SoundCloud as one of the initial places that the show goes up is that SoundCloud is where you can download the episode. So if you hear one or you're halfway through or maybe you're on a device where you can't stream or you're traveling to another country, you can just download the show right to your desktop through SoundCloud. I think that's the easiest way. You can do it from Libsyn as well, but I think SoundCloud is sort of the easiest one. And if history has been any indication, you can probably find this show on a crap ton of other places around the web as well that I just don't know about yet. My experience with hosting the other show that I've been co-hosting called Crappy Awesome, that's been going on for 5 years now, has been that every once in a while somebody will shoot me a text or an email and say, hey, did you know you're on this website? And I did not. So I fully expect that to be happening with this show as well, or at least I hope it does. But anyway, I'm going to attempt to really keep this opening as short as possible. And I'll be honest, the reason for that is because I've just been really fucking irritable today. I want to kill myself for saying this. First of all, it is a full moon today as I record this intro. And also, I've been told by multiple people that Mercury is in retrograde. I don't actually know what that means. I have no idea what it means, but everybody keeps saying it. Like there's things you're not supposed to do or you're not supposed to make decisions. It's some shit about Mercury turning or revolving. So I don't know, man. I do have experiences where I go wildly from a super woo-woo hippie way of looking at life. And I swing wildly to the other end where I'm just like, this is all bullshit. You guys are pissing me off. And it could be that I'm just in a pissy mood because it's a full moon and Mercury is in retrograde. So anyway, here's how this show is produced. Just a quick rundown. The last episode, the one with Electric Poncho, if you listen to that one, it was exciting. It was lots of laughs and goofiness, and the sound quality was not as clean and crisp because we had so many people in the room. But that one was a bigger show. It was a much bigger thing. And the way that this show is produced is producer Meg will kind of target a particular guest. Most often, Meg sort of already has an idea of who would be good for who would be a good interview and who's doing something kind of interesting or who is telling an interesting story or is experiencing an interesting part of our burner circles. And she will book said guest. Sometimes I throw one at her or, we'll just brainstorm together and say, oh my God, it'd be really awesome if we get that. So, like Poncho, for example, that was one where we were both like, oh my God, it'd be really awesome if we got Jake from Poncho to come and talk about Poncho. And then that ended up turning into that drunk fest that you heard, which was the last episode. And then there's other episodes where basically Meg will just book the guest and not tell me shit. And it just kind of shows up on my calendar. And I get to meet that person for the very first time as they walk into the studio. So today's episode that you are going to listen to is one of those. I did not know Jenn Giddens prior to recording this interview. And Meg booked her due to her experience with the Fire Conclave, which is a fascinating thing, and we're going to get right into that right now. But anyway, the point is that this interview was recorded a while back, and then I, record the intro like the day before we actually release the episode so that it's the most sort of current and updated. And each episode really does seem to have like an energy of its own. When I look at each one of these shows, every one of them, it's as if, it's as if they're just completely different shows that just happen to all be under the name Burner Podcast. And I've experienced this several times. I mean, like the example that I've used a couple of times is the Mikey Lyon interview. That one seems to be almost like the most professional radio interview. Then the last episode with Electric Poncho was the one where we just all got shit-faced. And then there was the bonus episode, which was basically like a political roundtable, but with dick jokes. So, I mean, every episode has a completely different energy. And I was so amused prior to recording this intro, as I was listening to just a little bit of the interview with Jen, how dramatically different this episode is going to sound in comparison to the previous one with Poncho. This one's a much more candid conversation. You will hear me talk a lot more. If you're not a fan of my voice, you're gonna hate this episode. This is not gonna be one of your favorites. But we basically get to know Jen. We follow Jen's life story as she makes her way out west to find her riches. Or just a bunch of hippies. And she gets out here and gets involved with fire spinning, and then we get into the details of what goes into getting involved with the Fire Conclave. And the Conclave is, for those of you who may not have actually been to the burn, or maybe just are not familiar with the terminology, it's the all the madness that happens around the man before we actually set the man on fire. So fire shows, there's all these different regions are doing their own fire spinning exhibitions, and it's one of the most amazing spectacles that you could possibly imagine if you haven't seen it. And it's interesting. So we get this sort of backstory of everything that kind of goes into being part of a regional Fire Conclave team performance, whatever. So you kind of get an idea of what goes into the conception of, hey, let's go spin fire around the man, to, hey, oh shit, we're standing out here and there's a dust storm and the man is behind us and there's thousands of people surrounding us and we're about to spin fire for the world. So you get that whole backstory. Another interesting thing that we got the opportunity to discuss on this particular episode is something that's very near and dear to my heart, and it is about giftedness. You can, of course, Google intellectual giftedness or adult giftedness or giftedness in children to get all that background information. And, one of the most interesting little exercises you could try to do is Google, am I a gifted adult? And fill out some of those surveys, and perhaps being introduced to this concept will answer some questions for you, as it did for me when I discovered a few years back that I may be gifted, or am, or who knows, or who cares at this point, honestly. It doesn't, you've probably heard random things about it here and there if you're not already familiar with the concept of giftedness. But this intro is kind of a big deal for me. This is the first time that I'm talking about it so openly to so many people. Up until the recording of this interview and to the release of this episode, I told only a handful of people in my life about this aspect of my personality. And we get into talking about why that's something that we generally keep a secret. We don't want to, we don't want to come off as douchebags. But if you're listening to this episode, the chances that you are a gifted adult is, in my opinion, extremely high. Not just and this is anecdotal, of course, but it's been my experience that and Jen agrees, I think, that we are a community that is very populated by gifted adults. But the majority of this interview will be about Jenn and going through her life and getting to know who she is and everything she went through to get here and getting into the Fire Conclave and what's next. And it's a very, very personal conversation. It's very candid, and Jenn is adorable. I mean, just adorable. I had some difficulty like focusing on the interview because I just wanted to just pinch her cheeks because she's so cute. So we're gonna go ahead and get into this interview with Jenn Giddens. This is the part of the show where I kind of slow down and I smile and I say I go by Mr. Arash, even though nobody calls me Mr. Welcome to Burner Podcast.
On the first part of the journey, I was looking at all the life. There were plants and birds and rocks and things. There was sand and hills and rain. The first thing I met was the fly with the balls and the sky with no clouds. The heat was hot and the ground was dry, but the air was full of sound. I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good to be out of the rain. In the desert, you can't remember your name, 'cause there ain't no one for to give you no name.
Looks like a video podcast. I guess you could get away with that.
Yeah. Well, that's not.
I don't know. We are promised all kinds of really bad puns. Something about, what was that, stomping puppies?
Oh, yeah. Puns. I used to make puns all the time, and I've started to not. I hold off until they're good ones. Or until they're like really clever. I don't try too hard anymore. So if it just rolls off the tongue, it rolls off the tongue. But I do have a friend who has promised to stomp a puppy for every bad pun. And then...
Oh my God.
And then you just said I would get extra bonus points for making bad puns, and then that just tells me that you give bonus points for stopping puppies.
Yeah.
That's
There's
bad.
a whole point system that no guest in Burner Podcast history has been privy to. But there's this whole secret point system that we have, and I can't reveal what exactly is going to happen in a year after we tally up the points.
Right. So you don't know what I don't get anything for my points.
Probably not. No. I mean, we might have something on file, and then it's just we're just gonna probably forget about it and go to a festival or something.
Forget about what?
Well, welcome to the
Hi.
studio.
Thank you.
You're coming from work right now? Are you tired?
Yeah. Actually, I stopped for a quick happy hour with a friend.
A quick happy hour.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, it's always nice.
Was it happy? Was it enjoyable?
It was very happy, and I am playing hooky tomorrow, going skiing.
Ooh.
Although it's officially, it's boss approved, so it's not really hooky.
Yeah.
But still,
It's
playing
bendy.
hooky. It's hooky.
Is that a pun?
I heard nothing, so
Okay.
no puppies will be stomped.
Ah.
I actually didn't hear it, so
Yeah. I've always hated snow. Like ever since I was little. I remember like when I was like, I don't know, like 4 years old or something, my mom took me out into the snow.
Did you bury your face in it?
No, she
okay.
she tried to start a snowball fight with me,
Oh, bad.
and I immediately started crying. Were you about to make a pun? Was that the face that you just made?
No. No. I was laughing. I was trying to imagine your face.
Yeah.
Getting hit with a snowball.
Yeah. Well, it was a 4-year-old me. If you can imagine 4-year-old me, but I was somehow
Slightly
the same
less
height.
facial hair, but probably similar.
Only slightly.
I grew up in a lot of second grade through 7th grade in Denver, so we would go skiing all the time.
When did you come out to wonderful, beautiful San Diego that doesn't have any snow ever?
I really bad with dates, but I know that it was the year Lady Di died, so 06,
Lady
07?
Di. That's an interesting
97? Because
Okay.
I started working at the U.S. Grant downtown, and I worked there for a few years. I transferred out from Texas. I was living there for a couple years on my own, and then moved out here, and I've been here ever since. But I think it was 97, 98. Moved and worked downtown, and then quit because I wanted to celebrate the millennium with my family, and I was a waitress. They weren't going to let me off work, so like, I have to go home for a family emergency. I have to quit. I have to go back. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
So then I came back and got a tech support office job, and then bounced around through a few different dot bombs, and got some support, like tech support experience, and then went to another place that it kind of worked up a relationship with people that I worked with, and then they would go somewhere else, and then I would get laid off because layoffs were happening everywhere.
Yeah.
And then Gene or Carl, people that I used to work with, these two specifically, they would, hey, we need you at our company. So I'd go there. So that's where I am right now. I'm at a company that does medical coding for like insurance coding. Reports go in, and the insurance and the software reads it and codes the insurance claims, and that way it kind of cuts down on the money for actual people.
Yeah.
It helps reduce costs for a lot of the medical stuff, insurance stuff. So I get to break software. I get to break things for a living. So I'm really good at that. My boss's phrase is, "We fail because we care."
Yeah. That works.
And I just had my annual review, and it was awesome.
Very nice. You're very good at breaking shit.
I am very good at breaking things. Ask anybody. I'm good at a few things.
So is that what lured you to San Diego? The job?
Nope. What lured me to San Diego was I was tired of Galveston. And I had been out here once to visit. And
Galveston, Texas.
Yeah.
I don't know how I know the name of that city.
I was there for 2 years, which is about a year and a half too long. And
but for 6 months, it's awesome.
For 6 months, it was fabulous.
Yeah.
And they have Mardi Gras parades. They have
you did
surfing.
The quotes.
Yeah, air quotes.
Air quotes.
It's really good kayak surfing, but not real surfing. But I'm not a surfer. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So came out here in my U-Haul with my kitty cat, and I've been here ever since.
In the year of Lady Di's death.
Yeah.
So are you already sort of hanging out with the Bernies and the hippies before then, or was it something you discovered out here?
That was about 10 years later, I think. I got married, didn't work out. So I moved out, and I found a place down here on Alabama with a girl. And
Alabama Street, listeners, not
so
Alabama,
Alabama Street,
the state.
San Diego. So down in North Park, and my roommate's boyfriend at the time was playing D&D with this group of people, and I mentioned it randomly in passing that I used to play D&D when I was a little kid. So they're like, "Come on, come join, come play." So sure, why not? I had nothing else to do because I didn't really have anything else going on in my life at that point. And then I met a bunch of people, a bunch of burners: Storm, Danielle, John, David, Jesse Lane, all those people. And poof, I was a burner.
Yeah.
It was just before Thanksgiving of 2008. I believe. That's when I was pulled in.
So what hooked you in? What was it?
Just how open and accepting everybody was about, like, there's making fun of someone and there's making fun with someone. And I'm very much a dork, a dorkable, if you will. And I felt very comfortable, even, like, so we would go back and forth and jokes, and like they would, anything that would be anything close to making fun of wasn't, I felt comfortable. I felt I could be myself. I was inspired by everyone that I met, especially even in this little group, had completely different ways of looking at things, backgrounds, what they did in life. But each one of them liked me, didn't care about my history. They were curious, but they wanted to know about me, but I always felt that I had to prove myself, and if I did something wrong, I'd be it. I'd be out.
Yeah, before
Yeah.
this group. Yeah.
And then this time, like, I could just do what I want or say what I want with respect, of course. But I just felt like immediately embraced and like I felt like I was shining.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's definitely something that I spend quite a bit of time observing and thinking about and feeling, is that you'll walk into a circle of new people and everybody, you're right, will have completely different backgrounds, and yet everyone's immediately embracing and open. And I do wonder what that is. Like, is that just like genetic? Is that something we've been trained from like a younger age to do? Like, what is it about this group of people that's attracted to, like, it doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what your background is. It matters, like, I want to know about you.
Yeah.
Like, I want to get to know you, and like the things that are unique to you are special, and they're awesome.
Especially, like, they're interested in what it is instead. Part of me
But
thinks,
it's never like, you're not in my work field, so
right.
I shouldn't hang out with you.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's I don't know that it's genetic. I think it is. Well, I was brought up to be very open-minded about a lot of things, or about everything, I hope.
Your parents were very open?
My dad was a doctor. He was in Mensa. My mom's my mom's mom was a nurse. Oh my goodness.
It's a loud ding.
Sorry, that's a loud ding.
It's louder than your voice.
Okay. I will turn this down.
What is Mensa?
It was Mensa. I don't really have a quick answer for that. It's a group. It's a if I describe it at all, it'll sound elitist, and it's not. It's just
gifted individuals.
Something, yeah.
So he was. So your dad was gifted, or he worked with Mensa?
But no, okay, turning this down. He was in Mensa, and then I took a test, and I am in Mensa, but I haven't followed that up. But when we were growing up, he and my mom, when we lived in Denver, they started a group, and they called it, they named it Magic, Mensa Activities for Gifted Children, and so that's where I started playing D&D, because kids, we played soccer or kickball on the street, and we had a lot of those kinds of activities, but a lot of other times we wanted to do other things that were like stimulating, or our parents wanted us to do this or that, so we joined groups, or we took trips to the museum after hours, or
so they started they started a Mensa group in your town.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it was actually a nonprofit too.
It's what?
It was a nonprofit. Wow. I just found out. Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna give the listeners a quick breakdown of what Mensa is, and I don't remember what the acronym stands for. The long and short of it is that I think it's like something like 3% to 5% of the population is considered gifted, and gifted people tend to like be very much in hiding about that. Like, don't like to talk about it because people hear that word gifted, and it makes them feel like, it makes other people feel like, oh, who is this elitist person think they are? Like, they think they're better than me. And like, what have you done? You're not making enough money, so what makes you special? That kind of thing. And this is all bullshit baggage. Are you looking up the
No, I'm just playing at Mensa in case you wanted to reference.
Yeah, no, I'm curious.
Because I like the research thing.
You're becoming my assistant all of a sudden, and I'm just like going to do my own show. Oh, what is this? Okay, it's like a wiki?
It might not be worth... it's actually the Mensa.org.
Mensa International... Okay, Mensa, the High IQ Society, provides a forum for intellectual exchange among its members. There are members in more than 100 countries around the world. Yeah, this is pretty much it. So yeah, if you're curious, go to mensa.org. The thing about being gifted, like, I discovered the concept, I don't know, I want to say about like 7 or 8 years ago. And initially, maybe a little bit longer, I was just kind of like, I don't know, tippy-toeing, like jumping around the internet, like reading random articles. And I ran across this essay. It was like it was like a paper, some sort of scholarly paper that somebody had written. And it was a breakdown of what giftedness is. And I remember reading it, and a lot of it sort of like rang true. And I forwarded it to my brother, and I just said in the email, like, ha ha ha, maybe we're gifted. And then he never responded. because, you know, again, you're sort of like most people are brought up to see it as just like a thing to be kind of ashamed of and kind of hide.
You're
because
special.
yeah, like who, what the fuck makes you so special? You know, like what are you? You don't have a title. You're not a doctor. Fuck you. And there's that whole thing that exists. And so gifted people, I'm talking about this publicly and I don't, but now we have an excuse.
Yeah, no, I
kind of grew up always, we grow up hiding,
shunned.
Yes, well, we will be that kid who keeps raising their hand in class to learn more about like the historical background of something, and all the other kids are like, shut the fuck up,
We just want to go play recess.
Yeah, and we actually like that shit. And it's not the same thing as like intellectualism.
Nope.
Because intellectualism is you have a fascination and interest in it, but giftedness is a sort of like a brain wiring. It's almost like closer to like autism than anything, if I had to compare it to something.
Wow.
Yeah, it is like a genetic brain thing.
Before you said that, I was gonna say I think everyone in our community is gifted.
Yeah.
Because I see so many people shining. I don't know that I go that far.
Yeah.
But you're right. It's definitely that you get focused on something and you just pick things up naturally, or you're really good at one thing and you just shine. I think that everyone is gifted. I think everyone has a gift with something, and everyone in a community anyway. And I think that's why, because I think we were going back to like why are people in our community so accepting of someone who comes in, like a new friend or someone, because I think we recognize that little spark that you're not, like, maybe you're a little different, just like me. You're a little different, so you probably understand, and you're not one of the plastic people. So I recognize that you probably recognize something about me. So I want to get to know you so that you can get to know me.
Yeah, it's almost like gaydar.
Yeah,
You sense it
gifted.
Yeah. No, it's. I totally agree with you. There was a time where, like, whenever I met somebody who had those qualities, and there's very much like a list of characteristics that gifted people have, like for example, hypersensitivity towards like social justice. From like a young age, gifted people, like, it's hard to find somebody who from a young age was gifted, or you're pretty much born it, but they were like a bully and they were dicks. Like it's hard to find that, because we tend to look around and be like, I don't understand. Why would you want somebody else to feel pain?
Right.
And yeah, well, it's funny that you bring up Dungeons and Dragons, because that was what I had a humanities professor who was, well, I'm sorry, she was a client of my mom's. My mom was a manicurist when I was little. And for a while, they were, like, my teacher and my mom, when I was like in 4th or 5th grade, they thought that I was disturbed.
Oh, no.
Because I just wanted to read ghost stories and stuff. And they, like, banned me from reading things and, like, watching shows that I like Sightings. Do you remember that show?
Yes.
Yeah.
I do remember that show. That's funny. Wow.
And then when she had this humanities professor, she was the one that said to my mom, like, no, he's curious. You should hone that. He should play Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, funny.
That's something you should look into. But yeah, I agree.
Did you play?
No, I was really lazy to like get the books and stuff.
Yeah.
But we would play like role-playing games when I was like throughout middle school and stuff, and I would just basically be the dungeon master, and I would just make up the stories on the spot. Like I would just tell my friends, like, all right, let's pick a genre.
That's
you want
cool.
science fiction? You want cyberpunk? What do you want? And I would just like create the world for them, and then they would play in that world that I would create. Yeah,
that's something that I think my brothers were more creative that way than I was. I wasn't someone who could just make up a story or like start a whole new world, but I was someone who could help maintain it or tweak it or something. So I could never. My dad would be like, all right, tell me a story. Just make up a story. Tell me a story. I'd be like, no. You start, and I'll add to it. For some reason, I wasn't able to like be the starter, but I could I could add, I could grow, I could help tend it.
You liked working within certain constraints.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because when you tell somebody the sky's the limit, you kind of don't know where to start.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want to do? Anything. Like,
oh, geez.
Then I'll just stay home and stuff.
How did your parents meet?
In school. I don't know. I'm really bad at remembering details like this, but no, they were both at school. My dad, my my mom studied like nutrition, and so after like when we moved to Denver again, we lived in San Antonio. I was born in Kansas, moved to Texas. My brothers were born there, and then we moved to Denver, and then my dad retired from the Army, and then we moved to Cincinnati. But during a lot of those places, my mom was working at she worked for Children's Hospital in Denver, and in Cincinnati, doing kind of getting kids involved in learning about the body, and biology and science and stuff. And one of the places that she worked at had the Jarvik heart there on display.
What is that?
That was the first artificial heart invented by Mr. Jarvik, Dr. Jarvik.
Oh.
And it was, and so you could see the valves flipping open and closed and stuff. And I think Mr. Goodbody, remember Mr. Goodbody?
Are you just naming characters that have Clue, the board game, at this point?
No. This was the guy who wore a onesie, like leotard, on like PBS or some kid's TV show.
Oh, okay.
He would go through and he'd walk through a huge ear and show you all the parts of the ear.
I do remember this, yeah.
That was at the place where my mom worked.
Oh, wow.
I'm really bad at remembering.
Well, I couldn't speak
like
English at the time that I watched that show, so I'm with you on that. What was it? I'm dying to know. Like, how long were they I'm assuming this was a long marriage?
Well, actually, when I was a sophomore in high school, 8th grade in high school, my dad was diagnosed with ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease.
Yeah.
And then he passed away when I was a sophomore in high school. So, no, he was in the Army. They had, he went to Korea. I was made in Korea. My mom hates it when I say
Wow.
that. Made in Korea, born in Kansas.
Yeah.
And he was a doctor and a colonel. And then he had, like, we traveled around, but on the inside, so landlocked. And then in Cincinnati, he passed away.
Yeah.
And then I finished college, I finished high school, and then I did college on and off. And then I moved to Galveston and moved here. And now I'm here.
It's amazing. I mean, he's like kind of the classic extraordinary man's man. I mean, he was like intelligent, doctor,
Dame.
military. Oh my God.
Yeah.
He's like a character from an Aaron Sorkin movie.
Pretty much.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, well let's because I mean I was fascinated by that because I'm always wondering like how do like two gifted people like operate in a marriage? I'm always interested in watching those things.
Yeah, they discussed a lot. Like they had an interesting way of getting to the point, everyone fights, but I was also a kid, I didn't really know the ins and outs of personal relations. Also, I have 2 younger brothers, they're twins. So it was my parents, my brothers, and me.
Wow.
So I was kind of off alone, most of the time.
Yeah.
So I didn't really get a whole lot of human interaction unless one of them happened to cross my path. So I played piano. My dad played piano. I played piano too. I just got a keyboard for Christmas. So
congratulations.
It's awesome.
Did in your future relationships, both platonic and romantic, did you start did you feel like it all kind of flowed the way it was supposed to, or did you look back on like your parents' relationship and see that, oh wait a minute, like not everybody discusses things the way that we're sort of trained to discuss?
No, I know that everyone deals with things differently, and I guess the way I describe it, I make it sound like so awesome and like always in charge, but there were there were a lot of different ways of communicating that we grew up with. My brothers, brothers had twin talk. They would talk. They learned Spanish first, and then twin talk in Spanish, and then English, because we lived in Texas, and we had my mom had like delivered had my brothers, and then she needed help, and so we hired someone, and she spoke Spanish, and so they grew up. My grandma wasn't happy with they're never gonna learn English. They have twin talk, so everyone in our family communicated differently.
Wait, is twin talk not English?
No, twin talk was their own little weird
sounds and gestures.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it was.
Until what age were they doing that?
Well, no, when they were able to start talking, then they would do a little bit of both, but then they were able to communicate with Mom and Lupe, but they would also communicate with each other. And my mom remembers it more than I do. Of course, I was only 3 years old.
Yeah.
But so I'm remembering mostly from stories that she would tell.
Yeah.
But every relationship, every transition in my life, every time something changes, I just kind of I don't really compare it to one particular part of my life. I just go look at going forward instead of comparing it to something from the past.
That's the correct way to do it.
Oh, yay! Yay!
So they tell me. I mean, I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet.
I like they.
Yeah. I mean, I only listen to the good day, not the crappy day.
There's no crappy day.
I just learned actually the other day that there's like a new subset or like sub program or sub website of Match.com aimed at Mensa.
Oh.
So it's like nothing but like all gifted dating people.
That seems quite contradictory or even ironic.
How so?
Well, those sites just seem so stupid.
Never been on a dating site?
No, I haven't.
I've been on a couple. And then I've kind of like gone through my time in them and I just kind of get irritated and move on.
Based on feedback, well, I never really wanted to admit that I needed to do one of those. And then hearing people just kind of bitch about or complain about it. Although I do know some friends who have had great connections with it. I just never did, and now I'm in an awesome relationship with someone I met at the U.S. grant, the first job that I got out here. I met Rich.
Yeah.
And then we separated. Or we didn't separate, but like he went along with his life and I went along with my life. And then out of nowhere, I came home and saw him. I had connected with him on Facebook a few years, but we hadn't communicated. And then all of a sudden, boom, we're messaging on Facebook, and then he calls me, and then we set up a date.
Wow.
Just 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so I met him when I first moved out here.
Wow. And then, so what is that in relation to sort of when you started burning?
Well, 97, 98 to 08, so 10 years. And then, so I guess I knew him best in 99, and then he had a different job, and then I moved on to the dot bombs, and then other things, and then, it was a few years later, and then all of a sudden, and I brought him to his first burn.
Yeah, you sucked him in.
I did. Yeah. I needed a helmsman. For my the San Diego Fire Conclave.
Okay. So you're going to have to explain what that is.
Yes. Well, what, the conclave?
Let's start with the conclave and then we'll describe what a helmsman is.
Okay. Well, first of all, when I met Rich, he was working security at the U.S. grant. So, like, he was always I need to walk. Can you walk me to my car?
Yeah.
That, a little bit of that.
Batting
Not too
the
much.
eyelashes.
Not too much. I mean, But the Fire Conclave, when I first met the Burning Man community of San Diego, it was immediately introduced to poi and staff, spinning fire tools, and I started practicing, and I didn't like the poi, I was practicing poi and I picked up the staff and I liked that better, so I stuck with it. Because you're spinning poi and you stop your hands and the balls keep moving.
Yeah.
With staff, you were kind of in control of where the ends were. So it just kind of clicked with me, and so I practiced and picked this up, picked that up, and picked things up pretty quickly. And then I was asked to join the conclave. So when you go to Burning Man, the night the man burns, there are groups picked to all at the same time light up their whole group in front of the man and do a performance piece, kind of whatever the choreography. Each group would be about 10 to 30 people, from different cities, different parts of the world. Everyone applies, and everyone, at this point now, it's 28 groups get in. They might be changing that, but last I checked, it was about 28 groups are picked to spin fire in front of the man the night before they light the man up. So basically, the groups go out, spin fire, put their fire out, sit down, turn around, sit down, watch the man go up in flames.
How did you? Let's start with how you ended up in the conclave.
My very first year, so I would go to practice. I would go, not even practice. It was like a flow jam. It was called flow class, and it was in Ocean Beach, and it was
shocking.
Yeah, but every Monday night, we'd all go out there and we'd meet, and people would come with different skill sets, different tools, or zero skill sets, and pick something up. And someone who had been doing it for a long time would learn a little thing from someone who just picked something up from someone else, and vice versa. Then they would get a lot of other basics and tricks and stuff from people who've been doing it for a while, tips, and also hopefully the safety portion of it too. Like before you even light fire, you need to know this and this and this, because it's dangerous if people are teaching. Like right now, I see people teaching people fire tricks or spinning, and they don't teach them the safety part of it, and that's frustrating. But no, I digress.
We've had a few guests in the past talk about the safety stuff.
Yeah, it's very important. Safety. Yeah. I mean, we joke about safety third, safety fifth, but you only have one face. And
speak for yourself.
Yeah. Well, I only have one face. So I was just there, and I guess people would kind of tease me, but in a good way, about how quickly I was picking things up, and like, oh, that's not fair. I took 2 weeks learning that, and you just picked it up. I'm like, well, you're a good teacher. You taught me this. And so they asked me, like, do you want to be in conclave this year? I'm like, yes. What does that mean? So it means you're going to the burn. I'm like, I go to Burning Man?
So you hadn't been to Burning Man before?
I had never been to Burning Man.
Your first burn, you're like, wow, okay.
So my first burn, not only did I got to go with Conclave, I already had a theme camp that told me that I would be camping with them before I knew I was going to the burn. So when
they didn't ask.
So you're camping with us? I'm like, I'm not going to the burn. They're like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'm like, hey guys, I'm going to the burn. They're like, we know, and you're camping with us. And so that was an awesome first burn. So I got to front row seats for the man burning.
You can't skip past that part. You got to tell me what that was like. All right, so talk about it. Like the sun is setting. You're hearing the energy in the town is rising.
Actually, no, it was a dust storm.
There was a dust storm. That's what I meant. You're not actually saying any of that. That's exactly what happened.
We were all like huddled, or we're wandering around, or trying to like keep dust out of our mouths, dust out of our eyes. We have goggles and dust masks, but people taking naps on blankets and furs on the ground next to our tools, next to our gear, and trying to keep all our gear in one place, and thinking, nope, this is back at camp? No, this is in front of the man.
Okay, so you're in front of the man. Is it in
front of the man?
Has the sun already set?
We can't tell. It's a dust storm.
Okay.
We honestly can't. Well, it's like probably because it's like 7.
You can't tell. Okay.
No,
right.
but we can't tell. It's dark to me.
Amazing.
It's dark. In my memory, it's dark. And Crimson, we're like, Crimson's going to cancel it. Crimson's the lady who starts the flame the very beginning of the whole week, and then she's the one who. She's passed the torch, pun intended, to Fire Council.
That was a good pun.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm proud of you. No, hold on. But let's go back though. So at what time did you actually go out there?
We start heading out like 2 or 3 hours before the man actually burns.
Okay, and the dust storm hadn't started yet?
No. At that point, no. Okay. At that point, we could still see. So it was getting dusky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're getting out there. It's dusky or dusty?
Both, but
okay.
Dusky.
Dusky and
like
dusty.
Dusk.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And you're like, wow, this is like a really dusty dusk.
Yes.
All right. So you're walking out, and you get out there, and you kind of like set up around your own team, and the other teams are little by little showing up, and
we practice a little bit, and then all of a sudden, so that
starting to get dustier.
Actually, brings me to the helmsman, because the helmsman, HELMS, helmsman, he is the one or she's the one who's on the radio. So for each conclave group, each group from different cities, different places, they each have one point of contact who's on the radio, who gets to hear, okay, it's time to get ready. We're gonna light up in 30 minutes. You have 30 minutes now. So, or everybody put out your, everybody fuel, we're gonna do this. Like, they have the time. They have connection to Crimson, or to the person who's gonna start the show.
Yeah.
And then they say, okay, go. And then they also say, okay, stop, put out your fire. 5 minutes till fire's over. 1 minute, everybody out.
Yeah.
And so they're on the radio the whole time. And so during this dust storm of my first burn, of my first conclave, they were just like, nope, still hold. Still hold. No one's dismissed.
Yeah. Hold. I'm just saying Braveheart. Okay. Continue.
No one's dismissed, and we're just sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, okay, we're going in 10 minutes or 20 minutes or however long. We're like, I'm like, shit, I have to remember what I was doing. Yeah. I have to remember my whole thing.
Fuck, I'm just waking up from a nap.
Right. Beacon, wake up.
Yeah.
And so
is the dust storm like settling down, or what's happening?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because so when it's too windy, or there are a lot of different reasons, but if it's too windy and their main priority is to make the man burn. The main priority is to light those fireworks and get that fire started. If there's a small window and everything so where it wouldn't be completely unsafe to light it and have the wind just take over. If it's too windy, it's not going to happen. It's too stormy. But if the wind dies down just enough, there was a chance that she'd be like, sorry, Conclave, no, we're lighting the man right now.
Yeah.
There's that chance. And there's that chance every year. But in this case, we're just like, all right, we can go. Let's go now. And so then we finished, and then we all scooched our things out.
Don't jump to the end already.
It's not the end.
Talk about the performance. Like, so what was that like? What was going through your head? You're looking out, you're seeing thousands of people.
No, it was amazing because I had lit up for my first time at a small party. It was my friend's birthday. My friend Kat, it was her birthday, and I'm like, I didn't bring a gift, so I will light up for the first time. And that was amazing. She was like, oh my god, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So I spun my
flashing back to that.
I spun my little fire staff.
Yeah.
And
how many of you are there?
In Conclave, well, in this group, I don't remember. There were this was 5 years ago. There were 3 groups.
Can't remember last week.
I wasn't in charge, and actually I don't even remember. So I'll say there might have been 20 to 30 people total.
Yeah.
And then there are safeties. There are people on the sides with the safety blankets waiting to put the fires out. Intentionally, people all right, I'm done with my prop. I need to put it here. You put out the fire, and then I'm going to get my other prop for the next thing, or I'm done. Yeah. And I'm just going to sit and watch and help out with fueling or whatever.
Burner Podcast.
All right, it is still fundraising season. I know, producer Meg sent me a fucking long list of events to announce, so I'm not going to get into a lot of details about these events like I normally do, where I try to send you to a website or something, so I'm just going to kind of plow through them as fast as possible, and if one of them piques your interest, you can just hit the pause button and write it down and go look for it, but I'll try to give you as much information as I can as fast as I can. Road Warriors is having their fundraiser on June 7th. That's all day at Collab. If you're in the San Diego area, Collab, what we mentioned, is our burner home here in San Diego. So June 7th, all day long, the Road Warriors are having fundraiser. Trifecta is having their fundraiser. It's not a fundraiser, it's a fundraiser. That's on June 12th. It's at 10 p.m. in Culver City. If you want to look up that information, you can look for the event on Facebook at Trifecta, which is spelled Trifucta, Mad Hatter Fundraiser. Type that in there and it pops right up. It'll come up as Trifecta Mad Hatter Fundraiser. Down the rabbit hole we go. Okay, and Dr. I can't really pronounce this, Meg. I'm so sorry, you're going to kill me. But producer Meg is involved with this project because her amazing, awesome brother, Paul, I think kind of came up with this whole thing. It's a Dr. Hias Balze Seriously Circus Extravaganza. I'm so sorry, guys. It's spelled Hyas Balze. Dr. Hias Balze, that I can't pronounce correctly. Balls. It's one of the regional projects that is going to be in the Midway, that's what's going to be around the Man this year on the playa. It's kind of the thing that took the place of the Souk last year, which took the place of the core projects from the year before. So this is the Seriously Circus Extravaganza that's on June 13th. It's going to be all day at the Collab, so you could party the night before in Culver City and then come back down to San Diego June 13th to get in on that fun. The Dionysus Burning Man Art Car fundraiser, that's happening on June 20th at 8 p.m. in Orange County at a place called Slacker Space. That's in Santa Ana in the OC area. So the Dionysus Burning Man Art Car fundraiser. Cheesy Porn's Leather and Lace fundraiser is happening July 25th at 10 p.m. in the Mission Valley area of San Diego. That's all the information I have for that. I'm pretty sure you can find some fellow burners who are involved with the Cheesy Porn camp, and they can give you more information about that. So go find your cheesy porn friends and ask him that. Don't forget that Figment is coming up on June 27th. Google Figment Project. I think it's figmentsomething.org. June 27th, that's all day in Chicano Park, also in San Diego. And there's, of course, Figment events happening all over the country. There's Element 11 that's coming up. That's the Utah's regional burn, July 19th through the 12th. So look up Element 11, Utah. And this one that I always had a tough time saying the name of, Wonderlust Critical Northwest, or Wonderlust Critical NW. You know what? I still don't know. Washington's Regional Burn. That's July 13th through the 19th. Man, lots and lots of stuff happening. Fundraising, regional burns, yada yada, all kinds of cool shit. Anyway, let's get back to the interview.
Welcome home.
Were you nervous?
Probably, but I think I was more just I'm sure I was mortified. I was nervous, but I still went up. I'm like, all right, I'm going in front now. I think I screwed up, but whatever. I'm off. So at that point, I was doing single staff and double staff. And then later I learned a little bit of fans. And then I went to a fire conference and learned fire breathing and fire eating.
Yeah, I'm trying to even wrap my brain around what that might have been like to be out there performing in front of all those people. It's your first burn. I was feeling so many different layers of emotions and feelings and physical abnormalities that, I could barely function.
I guess I just got a lot of awesome advice from all the people that I was surrounded by before I went. Mm-hmm. A lot of prep. The thing to get, my first year, I was told, don't expect anything. Don't expect anything. Yeah. Don't go with any expectations. And you'll have an awesome time. And yeah. I didn't, and I did. I didn't have any expectations, and I had an amazing time. And I actually had to remind the person who told me to not have any expectations. Yeah. To not have any expectations.
That's kind of good, general life advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much, because you can't be let down, mm-hmm. or you're more surprised if something goes well. Yeah. So I guess it didn't really. It wasn't any different than performing in front of people in general. And I had actually had my first spin in front of an audience at another festival called Elysium. Mm. That was a high adrenaline rush right there, and that was just that was awesome. Yeah. And so by the time we got out there, I'm sure I was nervous, but we'd practiced it, and I had a good group around me, and when you get out there and you look around, you're surrounded. There's 30 other groups in front of the man right next to you. Mm-hmm. It just so happens that you've got a pie wedge of audience. They're the pie crust, right? You just have that pie crust. But there's music, there's conversations, and most of those people are just going, fire!
Fire! Yeah.
I see almost naked people and lots of fire. Yeah. And that's that's really what it is, and we're out there, and
Yeah.
I don't remember being like awfully like nervous, or I'm sure I was nervous, but I don't remember being like getting anything like stage fright or anything. I didn't get sick to my stomach. I think at that point I was just, this is how they do it. All right, this is what you're supposed to do. Okay, this is how everyone else is doing it, so this must be the right thing.
Yeah. And how long did you guys perform for?
It's like a 15 to 25 minute performance. And
Okay.
then
you get the helmsman has like a signal?
Yeah, the helmsman, then he goes around, he's like, all right, fuel, close, everyone close the fuel cans or whatever. However, beforehand, like we hear before what the helmsman's going to tell us. Like, all right, this is my signal. Like we all figure out, like, this is, if I see that means like close it up, or everyone's done, or fire's going out in 5 minutes or something. So we get our signals straight before, and then when we hear the signal, then everyone puts out their fire, and they gather all their things, and they scooch to the perimeter, and then turn around, plop down, sit on a fur coat, and watch the man go up in flames.
Yeah.
And then
It's incredible.
the Shin of that year he's like, I'm not doing it again. And so a few people pushed me, or reminded me that I kind of made a joke that I'll try to do this next year. And so Heaven's like, so Jen, you gonna do this? I'm like, oh fuck, I said that. Sure. No idea what I was getting myself into. And the next year I was Shin, and we almost didn't make it in, but we made it. It was a hot mess.
Why didn't you almost make it in?
Almost because our choreography was awful.
Really?
It was just not together. Because Crimson was like, I don't know what this is.
Oh, you're doing the nail thing. I'm so sorry. I don't cringe or get weird about anything, but specifically that nail thing, I don't know what it is. Like everybody has that weird thing.
Okay.
I have a cousin that's visiting from the UK right now.
So I'll know.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I will never
torture me. No, it's
So if you ask a question I don't like.
Yeah,
okay,
no, you
got
can
it.
completely. My cousin is visiting from the UK right now. Coincidentally, I had this long talk with her, and I was like, "Hey, I think you're gifted, by the way. That's why you're all confused about life." So she's like figuring that out right now, and she's this ridiculous, amazing artist. So we were having this conversation, and I cracked my knuckles a lot.
I do too.
And she freaked, and I mean, it's
My mom does that.
like she just like dug into my skin with like all the forces. Like, you can't do that.
Oh.
Like she almost screamed. And so like I keep doing it around her, and I keep stopping myself. And
That's
I
awfully
remember,
nice of you.
well, yeah, I'm trying to, but it's just like autopilot, right? And then when you did that right now, I'm like, oh God, that's probably how she feels.
Oh, a little bit.
Which is funny, by the way. My mom was a manicurist.
Yeah. Oh.
So maybe there's some
Well, I had good
childhood
nails.
trauma. Yeah. Dig it? So hold on, tell me about how you guys almost didn't get in. Why was the choreography so bad?
Probably a lot of reasons. I mean, we had a talented crew, but not everybody knows how to work together or focus when the leader, me, doesn't know what they're doing. This is my first year, and Scott, when he's like, he passed the torch. He was like, any questions you have, just ask me. But I'm like, I don't know what questions I'm supposed to have.
Yeah.
I don't know that I don't know this, and so I just kept going. I'm like, all right, we have these people. What can you do? Okay, let's try to do this, and let's try to do this. And so we had a whole group all together all the time, and trying to come up with different skits. They ended up like they worked awesomely in our heads, right? And even they worked awesomely in person, but they did not translate to film. And we have to film the choreography and send it in for them to like say, okay, we want you in our circle.
Yeah.
She looked at this and she's like, I don't know what this is. We need to cut those two. And if you focus everything on this right here, then yeah, sure. And just, you'll have to show it to me when you get there.
Yeah.
We didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, at that point, they had already carved out that little part, a portion of the clock for us. But that was a very, very learning for me. Very learning year for me, because a lot of things happened at the burn. There were just issues left and right, and a I love all of the performers that were in the group. And it was just an interesting year. The second year, I went about it differently, and it was so much better. It was so much better that Crimson took me aside at the Shin briefing on the playa and said, "What happened?" So I was a little excited about that.
What was the biggest lesson you learned from the year before?
So trust myself first. Because I had ideas and I didn't know. I'm like, well, these guys are also doing this, so da-da-da-da. Well, let's listen to this, let's listen to that. Or I kind of like on the playa, there were some issues that came up and I kind of got sideswiped. And I know that if I had stood my ground, it would have turned out a little better for the important, for a number of people. But it didn't turn out horribly. It went okay and everything. That was also another dust storm, but that dust storm didn't happen until right after the man. Like halfway through the man, it was like you couldn't see anything. So we're just like, grab everything. And there was a chain of us. I think, well, at least 3 or 4 of us, just like holding hands and trying to get out to some place that we recognized. Because once the man's gone, the landscape is totally different. You don't have your sense of where the center is anymore, because the center of Burning Man is gone.
Yeah.
You don't have that visual clue.
Frame of reference. Yeah. So how many years have you led Conclave?
I 4.
4. I 4.
I was in it for 5 and I led it for 4, and then last year I stepped down and let one of my co-shins, I handed her the torch, Glendy, and then she's doing it this year. I would love to be in it again. A tiny part of me would love to be Shin again, but I don't really think that I need to do that. But I wouldn't mind to be in one, at least one more time, and get to the burn. I've never paid full price for a ticket because I've always been in the conclave, but I've also never been just in the audience and on the weekend comes and oh wait, I have this thing to do. I have this thing I have to do, rather than the weekend comes. All right, let's let it all hang out.
Yeah, I don't know what that feels like either. What I'm certain there are, so I'm just gonna put you on the spot. What lessons? Like, was there a lesson? Oh, she's you have the nails ready to make me scream and throw wine in your face. What if any lessons have you learned that you may have applied to life out here in the real world from your experiences in the conclave?
In conclave or Burning Man or
sure, maybe conclave specifically, but yeah, it could be Burning Man.
I don't know. Every day is is different. Again, it just comes down to trusting myself and having faith in myself. It really just all comes back to that. I could make up a whole lot of different ways of saying it, but it really comes down to that, because I think that is my biggest weakness.
Say challenge.
Challenge.
Let's not call it weakness.
No, it's not. Yeah. My biggest challenge is that. I think it all boils down to that. So when I do...
No, that's definitely a consistent theme.
Yeah, it is. So, but I think I also am able to, I take that and I turn it around, or try to turn it around so that I can be more compassionate to people in my life, because they're also going through not the same thing, but things like I am. And so, okay, well, this person said that or acted in this way. Maybe there's something going on there that I don't know about, and I don't need to know about, and I don't need to judge.
Yeah.
It might not be the most comfortable situation for me, but it's not my place to decide on a judgment or reaction, or like they did that. That's not cool. Like, well, no.
Yeah.
I don't know where they're at in their head.
Yeah, they're dealing with their own challenges.
Right. So
But trusting yourself is definitely something. I mean, even people that we look at and think, wow, that person really has their shit together. Like, they're also kind of struggling with that. But I imagine just, with your upbringing and your background, that was probably something that you had to figure out as well. Do you ever experience situations where you feel like you're not doing it right because you think it must be a lot more complicated than it actually is, and then the more you do it, you're like, oh, yeah, I can actually figure that out?
I've had those things happen. I guess the way I would describe it is, I don't know if it's the same thing. The way I would describe it would be like, okay, I'm faking it. When is someone gonna notice that I'm faking it?
Yeah, the imposter syndrome. Notice.
Yeah. There's a thing. Of course, there's a name for it.
Of course, there is.
But it happens.
Yeah.
But and this is gonna sound weird, but when I was in Galveston, I was a waitress. There was one day I remember, and all of a sudden it clicked, because up until that point, I was like, I'm waitress. I don't know what I'm doing. I should be a hostess. I should be someone at the computer or doing something else. Why am I here? And all of a sudden, I'm like, it just clicked. And it sounds silly, but it just kind of clicked. I actually remember that day. It was really weird.
No, I remember the day evolution suddenly made sense to me.
Oh.
I'm very familiar with what you're describing. I remember very clearly. I was sitting on a bench at Mesa College, like my second year there or something, and I just was thinking about random things, and all of a sudden, like, bing! Like, oh, I get evolution.
Yeah, it's like, no, the giraffes didn't grow tall. It's just the tall ones survived.
Yeah. I'm sure right now, listeners, like, it took you all the way to the fucking second year of college. Like, yeah, gifted guy, whatever. But yeah, no, I remember, and it's there's some really interesting articles I've read about sort of how epiphanies work, and like in a lot of media, they would like for you, like, they romanticize it by making it seem like all of a sudden the apple fell on Isaac Newton's head and boom, he got to figure it out. But epiphanies work little by little. You get a piece of information, and it's presented to you 45 different ways, and then finally the 46th way somehow, bing, little light bulb turns on. Yeah,
it's like it's like 3D rendering, right? It's only a picture up until it's a picture up until that last part, or it's not even a full piece of anything until that last part, and all of a sudden, boom, you got that angle, or a hologram maybe, or something. You have just enough angles to get it. Point of different ways of looking at it, different perspectives. I like to try to explain things in different ways. Sometimes it's like, oh, you've already explained it to me. I'm like, I know, but this is different than the last time, so maybe it might sink in, but okay, never mind, I'll shush.
So, you asked him to be your helmsman?
Yes, because...
What year was this? What's his name, by the way?
Rich.
Okay. Your first year you asked him to be helmsman?
This was 2, 3, so... he's been to 2. So his first, I needed a helmsman, and I asked him because he was security when I was there, and he took care of some weird things that happened at the U.S. Grant, and I just felt really safe around him, even though I had only reconnected with him, like shortly before that. I said, you are going. Do you want to be my helmsman and go to the burn? He's like, okay. I remember where we were when I asked him. We were at our friend's house, and actually we were at our fuel monkey's house, our friend David. We were at his house, and I'm like, hey, you want to go to the burn, be my helmsman? He's like, okay. And then he's like, what does that mean? So I kind of described cool title. To him, right? Yeah. And he dove in, and I showed up at the burn at sunrise. We drove there together. We'd been together for a few months, and we drove up to Monterey, and we saw Gentlemen's of the Road.
Really ballsy.
I know.
Not the Gentlemen's of the Road, but just going to the burn after being together a few months.
Yeah. And then so we rented our friend's van, and we drove up Monterey, and then we drove out to Sunrise on Playa. So basically his head exploded. We put it back together and got a little Playa in there, and showed up we camped at a theme camp his first year. Love Potion, that had their own art car and everything. It was an awesome camp to be a part of.
What was the theme?
It's Love Potion.
Did they kind of, was there
Actually, yeah, there was, they made little necklaces with Love Potion.
That's cool.
Gross.
The smell was gross, or
no,
potions?
The potion was awful.
Well, was it a perfume?
No, it was an aphrodisiac kind of like thing, and I don't know. I wasn't. It's based out of Oakland, and they're
Did
very.
it not work?
I don't know.
Like did you consume it? Do you consume it? Do you splash it on somebody?
You're supposed to consume it, and then.
And it makes you fall in love.
And yes,
okay.
It's very, very hippie kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it didn't taste very good.
I can't imagine that it would.
But it had like spices and other stuff in it. But again, I wasn't involved in the making of it. I just handed it out and told the spiel and the story and tied it around people's necks. But they also had an art car, and so he was in his first year. He got treated to an amazing theme camp and being inside the Great Circle, and
if that doesn't get you hooked, I don't know what will.
He's hooked. But
that was trickery.
I was able to like kind of relive my like a first year burn through his eyes. It was amazing. It was awesome. Yeah. And then the year before, like, didn't go last year. Probably won't go this year. Just taking time off.
Oh, sad face.
Yeah, it's alright. Saving money, go do other things.
Yeah. Yeah. So, all right.
And then the
power burner couple.
Yeah.
You guys are going all the things, setting shit on fire.
As we do.
Yeah, there's this video of Bill Murray that went viral for a while. I don't know if you saw that. It's like, it was like a bachelor party where somebody asked him, like, can you give some words of advice to our bachelor, to our groom to be? And he declined, I guess. But then, like, once the whole group was done with their dinner, they got up to leave, and he stops them. And he's like, all right, well, it's too late for you guys. But, it's too late for the groom. But for the rest of you guys, if you meet somebody who you think might be the one, like you think there's something special about them, like this might be the person you want to be with, buy 2 tickets right now around the world and go travel. Go everywhere and get your ass kicked and go get lost in countries you've never been to and have all that happen. And if you get back to your home and you're in the airport and you don't want to kill this person, get on your knee right there and propose. Right there. Yeah. And I remember I was telling my friend Helen this story, and she was saying, or just go to the burn.
Or just go to the burn. Yes.
If at the end of the burn you don't want to kill each other, this is the one.
Right? We actually almost killed each other on the way to the burn.
Like, actually.
No. But there were some, like, moments. But then we got to the burn, and it was awesome. Yeah. Yeah. You
guys got along and everything out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ugh, I don't know. As somebody with severe commitment issues, I mean, I'm trying to figure. I have no idea what that would work. I have a difficult time enough keeping up with somebody, like here in San Diego on a Saturday.
Yeah.
But that's
kind of clicked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the notes that Meg had sent me.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know what that means. Producer Meg had said that you should talk about herding cats. Was this about the conclave?
Kind of conclave, yeah. So San Diego, a lot of the fire spinners that in my first year, they were from OB. And then not all of them, but I don't know I don't know why it's different, but like other cities have a lot of different conclaves. A lot of cities have amazing. We have amazing fire spinners here, but for some reason they don't all want to be in the same place at the same time.
Okay.
And even if they are, one conversation will start over here while I'm telling everybody about this over here. One of the reasons that I switched from the full group my first year to 3 different groups my second year, and I kept it that way.
Okay.
And my second year, they're like the people were from completely like they were totally different people than the year before and the year after.
What does three different groups mean?
Okay, so when we have practice, there's a group of fire spinners.
Yeah,
it just
A.
so happened that I split it up this year. It worked out perfectly that second year that tools, they were split up by tools. So I actually had Unity, Valentina.
Okay.
She's an amazing hooper, and she was in charge of the hoop unit. And she was a third of my group. And then we also had staff spinners, and I was a part of that. And then we had poi.
Okay.
And so they were, because of the numbers and when people could practice and location and skill set, it was perfect that we split it up into those three groups.
Okay.
And so Unity was in charge of that. So actually I was only in charge of the 2/3.
Yeah. And how long did you guys practice for?
We start, like, so say we're starting now, this, like, what, March? Beginning of March. Yeah. And then we put in.
Did you just look at your watch to see what month it is?
Yeah. Okay. I don't even have a watch on.
Yeah, you don't even have a watch on.
It just helps.
I don't even know which dial on the watch tells you what month it is.
It's all up here.
It's all up here, yes.
And the actions work.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a nice loud crack.
Yeah,
my cousin
shoulder.
would have freaked.
Oh, I didn't do it on purpose, though. Sorry.
It's okay, continue.
So I was in the staff group, and there was another girl, Connie, and me, and then there were 3 other guys, and we all had a staff routine. We all did it, and the filming of it was just boom! It was so crisp. So it even we all tossed it up at the end and cut it, and it was and then the hoop unit came on. But and then the poi, it was Akil, and I'm forgetting everybody right now, but we had just a really great group, so it was just split up. But when I sent in that performance or that practice in June,
each group would perform individually.
Yeah.
First, okay. So Group A, then Group B, and Group C, and then what are the ones that aren't performing doing during this time period?
Waiting or helping. We're either running tools, helping to fuel the tools, or staying out of the way.
Okay. So how many weeks prior to the burn do you guys practice?
Starting from now, and then we submit an application video.
Now meaning like March.
Yeah.
Okay.
If not a little sooner, if not a little later. It really depends on people's timings.
March, April, May, June, July.
So we have until
August.
June.
So that's 6 months.
But we have until June to get our video application submitted, and then we find out in July, I believe, and then we can keep practicing. So, yeah, and then up until August. And some people, so it's once a week, sometimes twice a week, or for filming, we had to meet 2 different nights and film just in case, so we can cut the right ones together if we didn't make it, if we didn't do it all in the first night. But this one, and we have to find a location, someplace where we can all fit, someplace with good lighting. Yeah. Because you have to either film at sunset or have a backyard with a lot of lights in it. Because otherwise it's just a bunch of flames moving around, and they can't see the choreography.
You have this super small window to shoot the video.
Yeah, if you do it on a beach or something.
Yeah,
or
because it's pretty much just a magic hour. If you don't have professional lighting, which I imagine a lot of LA theme camps do because they have all the production.
Right.
But
we had a backyard for my second year filming, and so it was shining this way. It was shining from the side, but it still worked. It was fine. But we ended up. We just started early. We started when it was still pre-dusk, started.
So how long did all 3 groups practice together at the same time?
We didn't need to because we need to practice transitions, I guess we met 2 or 3 times.
Interesting.
And then
that gives me anxiety.
What?
The idea that the whole group, if I was in that group, I would have anxiety about.
In this case, we didn't have a finale to all get together, so we had one group performing, and this is the people from the staff group or the hoop group didn't interfere or didn't do anything with the poi group, except for the transition, and so we practiced the transition. The transition you can practice. Actually, I've also had the privilege of working with Unifier Performance, and they are a professional performance group. and they get a choreography figured out and done in 2 practices, or 2 practices plus video, and everyone practices their own role at home. But you know your role, you know your choreography before you come to the first practice. Then everybody does it, and you film it. And then you go home and you watch the film and you practice and you come back for the final. They have 2.
Yeah.
And it was an amazing. It was for Utopia last year, and it was Disney like Fire Tales.
Yeah.
Fiery Tales. And it was so much fun. And it was 2 very, very long practices. But 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then awesomeness happened.
That's awesome.
It was great.
So
it can happen.
I'm wondering, do your brothers know, like, what you're into?
Oh, yeah. My brothers, my mom.
Yeah.
Actually, I introduced my mom to the idea that I spun fire by bringing her to a party at Storm's house, and a bunch of my friends were there because they knew that I was bringing my mom. And this guy named Storm, he used to have a house out in Mira Mesa, so we'd all have fire back there. That's where we'd go and spin fire. And so I'm like, hey Mom, I want you to come meet my friends. I know I just picked you up at the airport. We're gonna go meet some friends, and then we can go straight home and whatever, and go have fun for the rest of the weekend. So bring her up there, and she meets with my friends, and she's talking to my friends, and then I duck out the back, and my friend had already dipped my double staves for me, and so I went outside and I was ready, and so my other friend brought my mom outside. I'm like, hey Mom, so just so you know, there's people over here with safety, and I just kind of like described what the safety things were, and I said, and I've been working on this for a while, so surprise. And I lit up, and she was scared but like amazed, and she loved it, but she hates it.
Yeah.
My brothers just love it.
Yeah.
They don't do it, but they love it.
Are they in the scene?
No. Mike has been to the burn once. And Corinne is not. But they're up in San Francisco.
Oh, okay. So they're like halfway in already. They're halfway hipsters, halfway burners. But I don't know that they. I don't know. I'm not very good with labels, so it could be off. Yeah. That's incredible. So what do you have? You're not going to go to the burn this year. We did the sad face.
Most likely not going to the burn. I haven't put any effort into anything about it. It's possible that Berlin for Lollapalooza might happen, but we need to...
Wait, Lollapalooza in Berlin?
Yes, first year.
Huh.
First year.
They really moved that kind of far from the original location.
Oh, they're still in the original location. They're just adding Berlin to the tour.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
that's awesome.
That would be awesome.
Have you been to Berlin?
Actually, yeah. The summer between my 8th grade... No, summer before I moved to Cincinnati. So between 7th and 8th grade, I was on the swim team. And the swim team went to Munich.
Yeah. And
then the swim team went home, but my family and I stayed and traveled and went to Berlin and went to East Berlin when the wall was still up.
Wow.
It was so trippy.
Yeah.
It was like very colorful and bright on one side, and it was almost as if I had a gray cloth. Yeah. Sheer cloth in front of my eyes on the other side, and there were bullet holes still in the walls and concrete, and it was interesting. So from there we went to Ireland and then home.
I went to Berlin and Munich, I think like in 2007?
Yeah.
2008, I think. And one day I kind of like ditched the rest of my group that I was traveling with, and I rented a bicycle and just like did the entire town, which I cannot recommend you do enough.
Oh, okay. No. Oh, yeah, I was going to say, that sounds amazing.
You need to do that. Yeah, like, fuck the tour stuff. Like,
just go on your own.
Rent a bike, and just go get lost.
I like that better.
And it was incredible. It was, because the other 2 days we were in Berlin, honestly, I wasn't, like, a huge fan. I was like, this is kind of depressing.
Yeah.
Skies were very gray. I could tell you, I think that out of all the cities I've been to in the world, it had the best food I've ever had. No matter what I ate was amazing. Yeah. Like whether it was Arab food or pizza or whatever it was. It was the best food I've ever had. I don't know what it was about the quality of their food.
I had that in Italy. Mom and I went.
Everybody says Italy.
Tuscany. Went to Tuscany and then Firenze or Florence, and that was. Well, we were kind of spoiled, and before we went to Florence, we stayed in this little. My mom's friend's son-in-law, daughter. They had a farm out there, and they transformed one of their barns into a double 2-layer flat. That's not a flat, isn't it? But
Flat.
anyway.
I don't know.
But so downstairs was separate from upstairs. But my mom and her friend and her friend's daughter, so we got both floors. So my mom and I stayed downstairs. So we actually ended up getting a personal tour from the guy who lived there, and he would drive us around, and he would introduce us to a family each day. They would cook us food from their own farm, give us wine from their own vineyards. And I made ravioli one day, and they like from the chard and the cheese and everything, and then each place made their own something, made their own sausage, and they cured all the meat was hanging, curing, or they made their own cheese or both. Or
oh god, that sounds amazing.
It was awesome.
I just want to like go swim in like a tub full of carbs right now.
Gross.
And just eat my way out of it.
That's a little too much for me.
That's what I'm gonna do when you leave right now.
Pasta.
I'm just gonna put like a giant thing of pasta. I'm just gonna go swimming in it.
I like a good pasta. A good pasta. I like a good pasta.
You've had like the handmade pasta over there. It's not like the stuff we have here, which is packaged.
Yeah, it was. I mean, and then I had risotto. I had wild boar, and I had rabbit.
Ooh.
I had wild hare.
How was rabbit?
It was delicious.
You ate the beloved pet of a lot of my friends.
I'd eaten their cousins, but I didn't eat their pets.
They're very intelligent animals. A lot of people don't give them that credit. I had a pet rabbit for like a week. His name was Hassenpfeffer.
Do I want to know what happened to your pet rabbit?
No, I didn't eat him. I couldn't take care of him, and I didn't have time, and I was never home, and so I gave it to another coworker of mine. My boss had given it to me because he had too many animals.
Or did he name it?
He named it.
Okay.
He named it Hassenpfeffer.
Okay.
Which is German rabbits do for listeners.
Awful.
So yeah, he couldn't take care of it because he had too many other animals, and apparently the Hassenpfeffer was throwing a fit because he was not getting enough attention.
Okay.
And so he gave me the rabbit, and I had him for like a week, and I couldn't take care of him. And like he was potty trained, he would only go in his cage, and so I'd leave the cage open, and he wouldn't come out, and then I'd put food in front of him. He'd like knock it over, all angry, and then I gave it to another coworker of mine, and I asked her like a week or so later, like, how's Hassenpfeffer doing? And she's like, he's got a fucking attitude. Like every time I put food in front of him, he knocks it out. So I guess like a month later, she's like, look, and she shows me a picture on her phone, and there's Hassenpfeffer cuddling with her kitty.
Oh.
And now they're like best friends, the cat and the dog and the bunny, and they all like cuddle together and go to sleep together. And then when Hassenpfeffer wants to poop, he like runs into his cage and poops and then comes back out.
That's too adorable. I'm gonna get sick.
It's okay. You know what? That's probably a good note. I don't want you to get sick all over the studio.
No, I'm not gonna get sick. It's just bunny.
Yeah. What is it? By the way, is that white wine?
Yes.
You carry white wine around with you at all times?
Oh, I was coming to a podcast and you had cheap red wine.
Yeah. And you have expensive white wine?
Instead of getting a headache, I'll just bring my own.
How did you know that there was going to be?
I gifted.
Ah. There we go. That works. You're also psychic, apparently. Well, Jen, thanks so much for joining us. It's a lot of fun.
Thanks for having me, yeah.
You have like a ton of awesome information about Conclave. I didn't know most of that stuff, and there's people that are wondering what they're getting themselves into, and this was like super valuable to those people. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, that was really cool. But thanks so much for coming through, and if you guys have questions for Jen, you could email us and we will ask her.
Yeah.
But yeah, good times.
Or come to the board meeting.
Yeah. Are you in a board still?
Well, there's one more meeting, and then there might be another year. I don't know.
There's one more meeting, and it might be another year on the board. One
of the board members is thinking of stepping down, and he is considering handing the reins.
Yeah.
Over.
Camber?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the last person I recorded.
Yeah. So trying to keep like the level of institutional knowledge and experience up. yeah, we're trying to figure that out right now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. Here, let me make sure this gets saved. And there it is, our quiet little conversation with the adorable Jen here in the studio. We had a Burner Podcast studio. We keep calling it that. It's my studio apartment, really. It's the studio. I love doing that, though. Anyway, you can tweet me directly at Mr. Arash. That's spelled MRARASH. And when discussing the show, please do use the hashtag Burner Podcast. Shows are up on Libsyn first, and then that goes to iTunes and Stitcher and TuneIn and SoundCloud and yada 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 and so on. And they go up on the first and third Wednesday of the month. Leave us some reviews on iTunes or on any one of these other platforms. It would be really fantastic. That helps us get more people to pay attention to the show, which will be great for everyone. Our intermission music is by Duckman. Check out his music at duckmansd.bandcamp.com. And if you're a musician in the community, do send us a link to your stuff using the contact page at burnerpodcast.com, and we will try to share it. Our music editor, Navjeet, will try to share it. I take no responsibility for that. The Burner Podcast theme song is America's Horse with No Name remix, produced by Joeman. Check out his stuff over at soundcloud.com/DJ Joeman. By the way, Joeman made a hilarious, honest trailer for that movie that's coming out soon called We Are Your Friends, and it's about a DJ, being a DJ. It's really fucking hilarious, and it's gone totally viral. It's awesome. You should check that out. This episode is produced by Meg King. If you have questions or suggestions for future guests, shoot them over to Meg King. She is on Twitter at @MegKing. Our music editor is Navjeet Serna. As I mentioned earlier, we do have a new team member, which I'll be announcing also on the following episode, so the team is expanding. Good stuff. You can also tweet us directly at Burner_podcast. The underscore is very important. Use that so that you're not tweeting some random Australian record label. Or you can always use the contact form at burnerpodcast.com. Hope you'll join us next time. As I said, we do release new episodes on the first and third Wednesdays of the month. So until next time, love and light and all that other crap. Good night.